But Mom, don't use her name.
Plenty of room for packages in the back, and this is not gonna fit there.
Nice coated.
Yeah, I think gunmetal.
Hi.
When you're ready, I'll go down with you, and if you need, I can pull out the car initially. But I can show you where it is.
It's in this part, okay.
Oh yeah, it's
I can
just
also show you where I parked it.
Yeah.
Where do you put it?
Oh, this is it's like deep into it.
you can give her to me. I'll put the blanket around me and I'll hold her while you go down.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, I think she's hungry, Josh.
You hungry?
She was not hungry.
Are you hungry?
She's not hungry, but
Okay.
he's doing that hungry.
Alright, you wanna eat?
It's all right there.
Alright, give me a second. Hello, hello. You have audio. Hi, hi, hi. How's everyone doing? Oh, AirPods. Yes, yes, yes. All right. We're hungry.
No, not like this, of course. But it's nice. It makes your face.
Hello, hello. She is very good. She's visiting with her grandma right now. Is she actually hungry? Is she putting her hands to her face, like to, or is she just licking her lips? If she's licking her lips, she might want to be burped. Yeah, but she might want to be burped. Oh, really, Roxy? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay, tell them to let me know the whole kit and caboodle on that. Hey, Liz, what's up, my girl? I'm making my coffee. Grandma's got the baby. Hello, hello, hello. She's a good baby? Yes, secret baby. That's right. Everyone's saying hi, Grandma. I'm making my coffee because I need it. How's everyone doing this morning? Everyone good? Look at that. That looks cool. You got snow? Oh, fun. Fun, fun, fun. See, it was a burp. Mommy was right.
Mommy knows all.
Not all, but enough.
Well, most.
Enough. Mommy knows enough. Mommy needs coffee. You. Coffee, coffee, coffee. It's good stuff. Come on, little milk warmer, do your thing. I did have my baby. Yes, she is exactly 2 weeks old today. 2 weeks old today. She's still fresh. Thank you. Hey, Gigi. How's it going? What's up, what's up? Yes, it is her 2 weeks today. That's exactly right. Not technically until this evening, but who's really counting? Who's really counting? Does she need a top off in the food department? I can do it if she really wants it. Glad to see you too. Hey, Avery. Hello, hello. We're wandering through the wilderness of the plants of our living room. Yes, yes, yes. Giant plant. Plant pictures. More plants. Coffee for me. All right. Let us do some reading. Yeah, who has snow and who doesn't? It's pretty sunny here today. It's been gloomy for the last couple of days, but today it's actually quite sunny. I wonder how warm it's going to be today. I don't really know. But I'm sure it'll be nice. But I know a lot of you have snow. Hey, Bree. Coffee. I'm actually wearing a shirt right now that my sister gave me that literally says, okay, but first coffee. And she got a matching one for the baby. Everyone here is commenting on how amazing you're doing with an Only Beanie. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. So my sister got a matching shirt to this one. Mine says, okay, but first coffee. And one for the baby says, okay, but first milk. She has a little onesie that matches with the same font and everything. It's very cute. So we can match. But first coffee, but first milk. Yeah, it's pretty adorable. Pretty adorable. All right, let's see where we are at in our reading. Your husband's still your favorite gloves? No. All right, today we are on chapter, oh, excuse me. Why is this not, that was weird. The Kindle just did some like weird thing. All right, we are on chapter 16 today. So let's do it. Ferrum rubigine perne o chronos, a spell to rust requiring salt, spit, and considerable patience. The night after Agnes Amaranth shattered every stein and bottle in the working man's friend, Mr. August Lee knocks at the door of room number 7 in the South Sybil boarding house. Agnes is bent over a map of New Salem with a handful of other sisters, debating the best routes to approach their third spectacle, when a man's voice husks, Hyssop, from the hall. The room falls still. Worried glances dart like swallows between them. Juniper rises from the bed, reaching for her red cedar staff the way a man might reach for a loaded pistol. It's fine, June. It's just Annie's cousin. Juniper has already whipped open the door to reveal the lanky, shockingly dapper Mr. Lee. His shirt appears to have been ironed, and his summer straw hair looks as though it suffered a recent encounter with a comb. In his left hand, he holds a red burst of carnations. He touches a polite hand to his cap. Evening, ladies. I'm here at the request of a Miss Agnes Emma. We know you are. What are these? Juniper snatches the carnations and inspects them. She plucks a few petals and crushes them between her fingers, sniffing suspiciously. Don't think my Mama Mag's ever used these in her witching. What properties do they have? Mr. Lee is struck briefly by the silent and uncivil young woman. What happened?
I said, oh, are we going to change you again soon? Because she likes to do her 2 morning.
Oh, is she doing her thing? Okay.
She did this yesterday.
Yeah.
I changed her, and then about 10 minutes later, I changed her again.
Mr. Lee is struck briefly silent by the uncivil young women by her green-lit glare. It's not. They're not a spell. They're flowers. For Mr. Lee looks a little frantically around the larger-than-it-ought-to-be room and finally spots Agnes leaning her hip against the kitchen table, fighting a smile. She loses. Let him in, June, and give me those. Agnes rescues the flowers and arranges them in a chipped porcelain vase. They sag forlornly over the edge, looking distantly amused. Mom. I can't focus when you're doing that. I can't read when you're babbling in the background. All right, where were we? They sag forlornly over the edge, looking distinctly misused. So glad you could join us, Mr. Lee. You've already met my youngest sister, Miss James Juniper. This is Miss Beatrice Belladonna, Mrs. Victoria, and Tennessee Holt. Agnes circles the room, introducing both her sisters and capital S sisters. Mr. Lee, in an attempt to recover his footing, essays a charming smile at a pair of girls from Salem Sin, and they return looks of such surpassing coldness that Agnes almost feels sorry for him. He redirects the smile to Bella, whose polite but profound disinterest is somehow even more crushing. Mr. Lee's gaze swings back to Agnes in desperation. She gestures to one of their mismatched chairs. All right, shall we begin? In the end, Mr. Lee's first lesson in men's magic is not so much a lesson as a hostile interrogation. Bella perches in a seat next to him with her little black notebook propped on her knees, interrupting every 6 or 7 seconds with probing questions and obscure remarks. Well, how do celestial movements alter the efficacy? Well, are your spells in imperative rather than subjunctive mode? As Mr. Lee fumbles through the answers that are mostly long pauses and pained expressions, Juniper sits on his other side, mangling the words at the top of her voice and complaining when they produce no obvious results. Yeah, but some good men's magic is what, the Latin word for it is horseshit, right, Mr. Lee? It's clear that whatever work Mr. Lee did in Chicago, Annie said he was a lineman who was in Deb's became one of Deb's left-hand boys, but they were charged with arson and inciting to riot by the state of Illinois. Whatever he was, it hadn't prepared him for 2 hours with the Eastwood sisters. Looking harassed, Lee withdraws a pinch of salt and a bent nail from his vest pocket and chants at the nail in rough-cut Latin until it looks marginally flakier and redder, as if it's contracted a sudden rash. Ah, neat, Juniper sneers. If you got a year or 2 to spare. Lee slaps his hand on the table, his charm hanging in ragged tatters around him. Listen, this is the exact spell that took out a mile of track in Chicago and got me beaten damn near to death. So when you're out on the front lines... Agnes thinks he might be warming up to a real speech, full of aggrieved passion and chest thumping, when one of the girls at the table gives a soft, devastating snort. You wouldn't know a front line if it bit you, boy. It's Gertrude Bonin, the clay-colored woman from one of the Dakotas. Mr. Lee looks at her, not so much offended as disparaging, and Juniper slings an arm around Gertrude's stiff shoulders. Our girl here fought in the Indian Wars out west, Mr. Lee. She and a bunch of other girls busted out of their boarding school using, well, Saints only knows what kind of witching, because she won't tell us. And then they joined their mamas and aunties on the front lines. Gertrude pats Juniper's arm and says, well, without a trace of apology, not every word and way belongs to you. What about the uplift of women around the globe and the universal union of our sex and camaraderie-ship of our womankind? Agnes is fairly sure that Juniper's store of 3-syllable words has just been exhausted. She suspects that her sister is quoting from a pamphlet that they received from the Witches Franchise League in Wales. It was accompanied by a substantial donation to their cause from a Miss Pankhurst and an invitation to the summer solstice ritual at Stonehenge. Gertrude gives another of her devastating snorts. When I see you out west standing beside us against the U.S. cavalry, then I will consider you comrades. Juniper flicks the bent nail at Gertrude in response and mutters stubbornly about the Sioux girls and useless men. At this point, the Hull sisters intervene, insisting that they wouldn't need Mr. Lee at all, if instead they summoned dead souls of their ancestors for instruction. Juniper makes a lewd suggestion about where Victoria can stick her crystal ball, and the tone of the evening just descends thereafter. Mr. Lee watches the rising debate with his jaw slightly slack and his blonde hair tousled. Agnes sidles closer and pitches her voice beneath the noise of the room. What's the matter, Mr. Lee? Is this not how you pictured our little woman's club? Well, no, not entirely. He scrubs a hand over his jaw. What is all this? He nods at the pile of black felt and silken scraps and a scattering of dark feathers. Oh, nothing that would interest you, I'm sure. Just another show. For some reason, this provokes his bright, boyish grin. My, what sharp teeth you have, Miss Eastwood, he murmurs. Will you be, sprouting wings, riding broomsticks across the thorn? Bella, who was apparently eavesdropping, begins to say something about the absence of his historical evidence that witches specifically preferred broomsticks, and that such stories likely refer to any number of spells for flight or levitation, but Agnes interrupts her on the grounds that that's boring, and no one cares about it. Becca! Wait, what is going on? How did you get on here? How did you get this? What are you doing here, and how are you here? How is this possible? Tell us everything. We thought you didn't have the app. What's going on? You're on your old phone. Okay. Well, there you go. That's why there's a Christmas tree next to your thing, huh? Dad might need help. I might have to jump up for a second because I'm hearing things that tell me Dad might need a hand. Give me 1 second. I shall return momentarily. That's funny. I just want to see if they're okay. Are we okay? Okay. She does not like dirty diapers, but who would? Who would want that? Who would want it?
I'd like to have 2 morning cookies.
That's right. Okay, we are back. Back in action. All right, here we go. My, what sharp teeth you have, Miss Eastwood, he murmurs. Will you be, sprouting wings, riding broomsticks across the thorn? Bella, who was apparently eavesdropping, begins to say something about the absence of historical evidence that witches specifically even preferred broomsticks, and that such stories likely referred to a number of spells for flight or levitation, but Agnes interrupts her on the grounds that it's boring and no one cares. That information is only for sisters, Mr. Lee. August, please. He looks up at her with a dare in his eyes. And, how would one exactly petition to join the Sisters of Avalon? Agnes never liked to back down from a dare either. Bella, the roster, if you please.
Bella hesitates for a long second before sliding her little black notebook across the table, and Lee writes his name beneath the others. August Sylvester Lee. And then he tosses the pen down like a dueling glove. All right, and now your oath, sir. Prick your finger and draw a cross, and then you gotta repeat after me. Witchcraft? Are you sure a man can make it work? Are you sure you're a man? You strike me more as a mouse. August barks out a laugh before he does prick his finger and speak the words. The two of them grin a little giddily at one another until Juniper squints over at them and mutters darkly, "Oh, for the love of God." That's funny, Becca. Later, after most of the Sisters of Avalon have slunk back through the halls of South Sybil and out into the damp green darkness of the June night, and after August has left with the tip of his hat so low that it was nearly a bow, Agnes watches him go with a hand on her belly, reminding herself the price a woman pays for wanting, and Bella clears her throat. She's standing at the door with her black notebook tucked beneath her arm, looking back at Agnes with deep lines around her mouth. Be careful, Ag. It's almost a whisper. I heard Annie say he's just here for a month, so lie low. I don't think he's the type to stick around. It's none of your damn business, Agnes hisses back. I didn't want you to form any attachments. That might be unwise. Yeah, and what about you and the lovely Miss Quinn? Is she a wise attachment? Bella's face goes gray and her shoulders hunch around some unseen wound. I don't know what you mean. She sweeps out of the room. And then Agnes is alone, feeling like a snake or a shard of glass or something that hurts you if you hold it too close. And the next meeting of the sisters, Beatrice chooses the seat beside Miss Frankie Black. They work side by side, stripping lace and buttons from a pile of old skirts and donated blouses. There are more sisters now who are in need of more witching robes. Beatrice engages Frankie in an airy discussion of family and background and basking in the southern sprawl of her accent before casually asking if Frankie happens to know Miss Cleopatra Quinn. Frankie looks at her slantwise. Well, yes. Oh, I thought you might. Are you two, close? Bella asks. Well, close at one time, quite. Frankie's voice is very even, and Beatrice's heart gives a double thump at that quite. She thinks of all the things that Quinn doesn't tell her, and the work she doesn't share. Well, she says lightly, I've just lately become acquainted with her. She's quite... She trails away, unsure what word she meant to say. Enigmatic, compelling, consuming, maybe. But Frankie turns to her directly. There's an unmistakable shine of pity in her eyes. Look, you should know before you get your heart broke, Miss Cleopatra has other interests, and they will always come first. Other? Beatrice would give a sum of money to prevent herself from blushing now. The Colored League, you mean? She abhors the note of desperation and optimism in her voice. The pity deepens. No, my dear, not the Colored League. She's a member, is she not? Well, I don't believe she's into meetings in months. What's the matter? Oh, here, I'll feed her. Let me feed her. Don't waste those. Okay, we're going to take a very brief intermission while I feed this baby, and I will be right back. I will post a message when I come right back.